Hello, welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection Game Day. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me, as always, my co-host, Tate Mathews. We have two special guests with us today. We have Tate Craig, Ravenwood baseball coach. Thank you so much for joining us. And Ravenwood baseball standout, Bryce Denton. How are y'all guys doing today?
Doing well. Doing great. How are you?
Great. So glad that you guys could join us today. We're going to talk about a lot of things that's happened this year in the WCS Sports Conference, particularly baseball with the Ravenwood group. And Bryce, your journey up to this point has been a fantastic one. We look forward to seeing what happens with you on the draft. Let's start with you, Coach Craig. Let's talk about this year in Ravenwood High School. I'm going to give you a general question first. Ravenwood athletics, fill in the blank.
Outstanding right now. You know, we had a lot of teams qualify for the state tournaments this spring, and as you know, the fall sports have played very well as it did the spring, and I believe we just won the Directors' Cup. I don't know if that's official yet. So overall, it's been an outstanding year at Ravenwood.
It is official. Not only that, there was a mock draft that came out, if you will, or a ranking system that Ravenwood, and I would love to argue with this person, Ravenwood was ranked the number 2 high school in the state athletically behind CPA. That's another argument for another day. So in other words, let's just say Ravenwood right now is the number 1 public high school athletically across the state.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive what the kids have done over there. We've got a lot of great kids, obviously, athletic kids, and some good coaches. Some good coaches who've done a nice job with them.
Bryce, I want to ask you the same question. Not only being a student athlete, let's talk about the culture there. Let's start with football, because football obviously always starts the year off athletically for you guys. As a student athlete and an innocent bystander in this process, what does it feel like from a student perspective?
Excitement. You can definitely tell where all the students every Friday night are just so excited to go watch the team play, and they know that they're always going to be out there competing their butts off and giving us a chance to win every night, and that's something to really get the whole excitement of the school going.
Is that something that you all watch? You know, you didn't play football, but you were at the football games, and I've heard Coach Craig talk about it when he's talking about you all, especially you, Coach Hester, talking about a lot of his football guys. You all, as a student body, seem to know how to compete. And so when you're watching the football team, you know, do you watch how they prepare and the games that they're competing in and kind of take some of that over into the baseball?
Well, I mean, they definitely set the standard. You see how good they do, and as every other team would want to do too, they want to be that good. So it's just something there. They set the standard really high, and you see how good they do, and you want to be like them. You want to be at the top of the food chain, just like the football team.
Yeah. And I know they very well attended at the baseball games as well. You know, they supported the baseball games. Love to watch you come play. I've heard Coach Hester talk about you as an example. So it's pretty neat how you all support each other.
It's a good school chemistry. It's pretty rare, honestly, but it was pretty cool this year. Very good.
And to think about the Directors' Cup, it is official. Ravenwood was second all year long. You know, they could have came out of the box right off top with the football deal, and we won't go into the football because we've talked about that all year long. It's like pulling off a scab with the way that Coach Hester and those guys got beat in the championship game. But with that being said, all year long, Ravenwood was second place behind Brentwood, and then the spring sports hit. And then all of a sudden, you guys took a commanding lead on the very last day to get the cup. And I know the cup being new this year, the process of hopefully next year what will happen, the student athletes will be aware of the point system and where they are. So hopefully that will drive the kids to motivate them to also win a cup for the school culture as well. But every school that I've been into this year, which is all of them on a regular basis, when you go into Ravenwood, it does have that different feel athletically. You go to a pep rally, you go to a ball game. The G2 bar is so strong across the board. I know that you help behind the scenes with football, and I think the chemistry with the coaches. Let's talk about that real quick. What about the chemistry behind the coaches? Even those that do not participate with you, but they're there at the game, they're constantly probably texting, probably calling you, wishing you the best of luck.
Well, it's huge. It's huge because this is the first school that I've ever been at where the coaches are really tight. You know, I support the basketball, the football, volleyball, all the other coaches, and they do the same thing in return. So like the student body or the coaches root for each other and support each other any way we can.
So let's get into the baseball season. Man, let's talk about first and foremost, the WCS Sports Conference put out some stout teams this year. You know that Centennial lost 2 region games, both of those to you guys, if I'm not mistaken. And you can go on back. Summit had a decent year. Everybody that you played, it was almost like a gauntlet, just like in football. We went through the football process. We weren't for sure how good the teams were until we got outside the region. Basketball was the same thing. Baseball, let's talk about the other teams in the district real quick and briefly. How good was the competition this year?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. The regular season, we played 18 conference games. And at the beginning of the year, I thought 13 or 14 would win it, and it took 16. There was no room for error. There was no team in our conference that was a guaranteed sweep. A lot of parity. Fortunately, we played very well throughout the course of the year. We were very consistent, and Centennial was right there behind us the whole way. And you always have Brentwood and Summit and Franklin and Independence, and Dixon County had a good year this year. So really, there was no weak link.
Yeah, Dixon County getting better. That used to be the one that was, I guess, if you could maybe rest on your laurels a little bit, that was the one. Not an easy series at all, and obviously baseball more than softball, you got to have more than one pitcher. So going into that season, and then you got to get ready for the postseason. So going through that district season, how do you go about scheduling your non-district games? Obviously, you want some tough ones, but do you want them all tough?
Well, this year was interesting. It was challenging because of all the rain and the snow. We missed out on a lot of non-conference games early on. So, we try to challenge the kids on Friday nights by getting some good teams from the outside in. Unfortunately, this year I think we had 6 or 7 games on Fridays that were canceled because of the weather. So that hurt, but it hurt everybody because it gives you an opportunity to build your pitching staff, and that's what we weren't able to do.
Right. Bryce, from your perspective as a player, who was that? Give us a little insight. Who was that team? You're like, oh man, here they come. It was more of a difficult. I'm not saying that you were worried about playing them, but that you knew that you were in for a dogfight every single night.
In the district?
Yes.
Definitely Centennial. There's a bunch of good teams out there, but it was more of like a pride thing between us and them. They would tell us they'd beat us. We think we could beat them, and it was something that it just had to be played out on the field.
Well, what about the other teams around the state? When you also, some teams we won't ask you to name that you always did really well against. But who are some of the ones that when you saw them, you knew for whatever reason they kind of had your number? Not really struggled against, but you knew you were going to have a hard time when you see them, whether it be a Rutherford County team, Sumner County team, or maybe there wasn't one.
And there wasn't too many because most of our games were in district or in Florida, for example, the first part of the year. And definitely big name teams like Farragut and Houston, but we didn't play our best that day, I guess. It happens, it's baseball.
And they finished 26-8, so there weren't too many tough ones in
No.
there for these guys, even though the record shows that you had a fantastic year. So let's get to the process of we get to district tournament. Take us through that process. The game, very briefly, games. We lost in the semifinal round. Was it not against?
We lost to Brentwood.
Brentwood. That puts you in the loser bracket, eliminated you.
We were eliminated by Summit.
Okay, so take us to that district playoff scenario.
Well, this year was a little different because we were the number 1 seed, which meant we qualified for the regions. So we didn't have our backs against the wall. Last year, we weren't the number 1 seed. We had to win the tournament in order to qualify for regionals. So it was a little bit different because the kids going in the district playoffs knew that our season was going to continue. And as I said earlier about our district, that it was huge for us to qualify in the regular season because you get in a tournament setting, anybody can win. And with so many good teams, it was up for grabs. We didn't play particularly well in the district tournament, and Centennial ended up winning that to advance. We were kind of happy to get that behind us and start preparing for the regional tournament.
And then when you got into the regional tournament, you faced against
played Overton in the first round.
Overton won that game pretty easily, went into the state tournament. So once we got to the state tournament, what about the day that the seedings came out? And you saw in the seedings that you're in the same bracket with Farragut and Houston. We probably have the 3 best teams in the state right there. Somebody's going to have to go home. I mean, at that point as a coach, you think if you're going to play and try to win it all, you're going to have to beat the best regardless. But at that point in time, you're thinking, man, what a tough road that you had compared to the lower half of the bracket.
Well, actually, we were coming off. We had to beat Wilson Central on Friday night to get to the state tournament, and that was a game that went 11 innings. So, you know, that was one of the best high school baseball games I've ever been a part of. And Saturday, the pairings came out. You have no control. You know, you just have to look at it and take it for what it's worth. And we were just happy to be in the final 8. And you can say, boy, you got in a tough bracket, but you know, it's the luck of the draw. And I told the kids the same thing. It's, you know, who's next? And it happened to be Houston, and Farragut was right after. We played East Hamilton. So yeah, it was a tough bracket, but that's just the nature of it.
You mentioned that Wilson Central game, and it's like what we've been talking about, that your athletic department's been all year long. You know, your kids just fight, and that was, I mean, I don't think that thing ended until like 10:30 at night or so. But you mentioned you all got beat in the district tournament, and I think that is a great rule. That's one of the best rules you put in. You mentioned you all won 16 out of 18 conference games. If that rule is not in place, there's a chance you all don't make it to the state tournament. I think the reward for what you all did in the regular season, you deserve to be there. You went on, it proved that you should have been there, got to the state tournament. Are you happy? Obviously, it played in your favor this year. Are you happy with that rule? I think that's a good one. I think everybody ought to adopt that.
Yeah, I think it's a great rule. You know, it rewards you for winning the regular season, and besides, you're playing for something. Especially in our conference, you know, if you're not playing for anything, you can pretty much throw the seeds out come tournament time. We won the district tournament 2 years ago, and I think we were the 3 or 4 seed. So, yeah, I like that rule, and we vote on it, and it's unanimous every year.
Well, let's quickly talk about your outgoing seniors that you have. Let's give me a rundown of those guys, what their possibilities are in the future, if they have any. Just talk about your outgoing guys.
Well, we had a tremendous group. I hated to let them go. Not only were they talented, but they were good people. We had 11 seniors this year. Bryce being one of them. I think we'll talk about, you know, what he has ahead of him. Micah Katzer was a pitcher. He signed with Western Kentucky. Matthew Dudas is a catcher who signed with Murray State University. Darrell Freeman played center field for us. He's headed to Middle Tennessee State. Bailey Witten has had some offers at smaller schools. He's kind of undecided, as is Luke Yates. And Ryan Beamish just signed with Lee University. He played left field for us. So it was a special group, not only from a athletic standpoint, but just the camaraderie. And I told these guys all year, it was a tough year for me because I knew I had to let them go. It's like your kid leaving for college. It comes that day where, okay, they're gone. I had them for 4 years, and it's a tough pill to swallow because I like them so much.
You like it when you have that many seniors. You like it when you have senior leadership. It always makes it easier when your best player really is your leader. And so as talented as he is on the field, he really was the leader of your program. That makes your job so much easier, doesn't it? Especially with the example he sets with his work ethic every single day.
No question, Tate. He, you know, I've said this before, and I've gone on record and said it. You know, this is year 24 for me, and he works as hard as any kid I've ever had. And you know, you can look on the field and see what kind of player he is. You know, we know how talented he is, but he's always the first one in, the last one to leave. The leadership ability, the way he interacts with the other kids. He's just a special player, special person, special character, and type of kid you'll never replace.
When we come back to game day, we'll discuss Bryce Denton's future with the Major League Baseball draft upcoming. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Reading the Day by Sandy Coomer. Before the book is opened on the day, I gaze upon the cover's bright design and listen to what words the morn might say as introduction to this storyline. As chapter follows chapter, there is pause to rest my eyes before the rising plot can fix me in some independent clause or capture me within some deed or thought. Some characters, some themes I've known before, but every word's arranged as something new, some passion, some deep lesson in the lore of living set for me to find, pursue. What little time to read the day, to learn its heart before the final page is turned.
Welcome back to WCS Sports Connection Game Day. We're here with Teddy Craig and Bryce Denton of Ravenwood High School. Now, let's take us through the whole process, Bryce. Junior year, you get offered your first major high Division I offer from University of Tennessee. When that process started, did you automatically think UT's the school I wanted to go, or do you think, hang on, this could provide extra, more schools can get involved in this process? Kind of take us through that.
It was the summer before my junior year, and I was playing in a tournament in Illinois. I was having a good tournament, and Tennessee was there. I get a call, and then they gave me the offer. And so at that point, I mean, it was before my junior year. Junior year, I've always heard, was the biggest year for college scholarship offers and for attention and whatnot. So I was just really excited. I just knew, hey, I'm going to get a chance to continue playing somewhere. And but I mean, I only played 2 years varsity baseball, still had my best 2 years ahead of me, and I really just wanted to see where that would go. And I mean, I told the coaches that, every coach that I got offered by, I would tell them all the same thing, that I was just going to wait until the fall or so before my senior year, which I ended up not making it that far. But
so how far in that process, once UT offered, how long was the gap between Vanderbilt when they came in?
Vanderbilt was the summer after my junior year, so it was probably mid-June around that time. Tennessee offered probably the previous September in that area of time, maybe a little bit before that. So it really blew up after my junior year of high school. I had a really good year that year, and the summer I continued that, and the way I played, I had a really good summer, and I was in front of the right people, so I just started getting a lot of calls at random times, and it kind of blew up on me there. But Vanderbilt was always a school that I kind of felt like would be the best place for me to continue playing if I could get the opportunity there. And then once...
Did you make your decision before or after they won the national championship? And did that have any influence at all?
I mean, not really, honestly. I had talked to their coaches since my sophomore year. They had actually been talking to me about pitching before that, and then after my junior year is when hitting kind of blew up on me. And so after that, their pitching, they were always a little iffy if they wanted me or not, and I could kind of sense that. It's not hard to sense. And then after that, it was just all hitting, and they were just like, yeah, you're not going to pitch. But that was fine with me.
What is it about Coach Corbin and his program? Obviously, winning is a big part of it, but there's got to be something else when you guys go visit and when they're recruiting you. They seem to get everybody that they want, so there's got to be something more going on when you go on those visits. But what were some of the things about him that attracted you to him, that if I play college baseball, this is who I want to play for?
I mean, he's a real guy. You go visit some of the schools and the coaches, they tell you a lot of just what you want to hear and what they think you would want to hear. But as a player, you got to look at what's best for you and what you would enjoy the most as your college experience, as well as playing baseball. And when you talk to Corbin, you can just sense the way that he is, and everything that he is telling you is real. He's not promising you playing time. He's telling you have to go earn it, because that's the way it really is. And as he talks more like a mentor, not as just, hey, I'm your coach, which from what I've heard, a lot of the college programs, that's the way it is, and it's a lot less of mentoring and just more baseball specific stuff. And that was the thing with Corbin, that every commit I've talked to, every player that's played for him is also the same thing. You just won't find many coaches like him. He's different from the rest.
Coach Craig, let's talk about your role in this process too. I know coming from Florida, you had a lot of guys there probably signed, and you've been through this process. I know that you were a mentor, I'm sure, to Bryce, too, on this process. He leaned on you about some advice. So let's talk about that process with you. When you speak to these coaches, what were you looking for to help give him the best guidance?
Well, I've known Coach Corbin for a long time, so I knew what Bryce was getting into in terms of the type of program he runs. And, his track record speaks for itself in terms of success. But when you look at the whole ball of wax, though, how many of those kids that he coaches come back? And a lot of them do. It's hard to find a former player say anything negative about Coach Corbin, because he cares about you as a person as well. It's not just about the 4 years that you spend in his program. he stays on top of you, makes sure that you graduate, and he stays in touch with his players, and he's just a special coach. So, you know, in terms of guiding Bryce, I think that Bryce, you know, had it in his mind after he went to Vanderbilt. We sat down with Coach Corbin and met with them, and a couple days later, you know, it was his decision. So I was just kind of a fly on the wall.
You also got to, you know, just knowing Tennessee and Vanderbilt, you know, the College World Series going on right now, LSU's in there, A&M's in there. I mean, playing baseball in the SEC, the chance that, you know, depending on what happens, if you do go to Vanderbilt, playing in the SEC, that is going to be unbelievable, man. You will be playing in, you know, just like football, the premier conference in the country in baseball. That's got to be something that's got to be exciting to you.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be challenged day in, day out, that's for sure. Playing with a bunch of great players and playing against teams that are, there's a team full of studs everywhere, and that's why all those games you see the series, there's not too many blowouts in the SEC normally. So
There's going to be some unbelievable stadiums too. It's going to be some great environments you're going to be involved in.
And what I find interesting too on this, let's speak real quick before we get into the major league side of things. Van Jefferson, ranked 22nd in the country at one point in time on the draft boards, if you will, for the colleges. You're extremely high as well. Same school, same classes. How have y'all discussed at all about future and saying, hey man, what are you thinking about this? What do you think about? Have y'all talked at all about that?
Yes, I mean, we're actually pretty good friends. More so this year than the past year, but that's because I was around him more, just had classes with him and stuff. So I mean, he's a great dude. We never really would sit in there and talk like money with each other or talk like, hey, like when are you going to NFL or anything like that. But
just the recruiting process, though.
Yeah.
I mean, who's coming in? You know, every week we had particular people coming in football. You had the same process with baseball. Did you ever compare and say, hey, man, what do you think about going here? Let's go here. Or did it ever come up that maybe y'all could go to the same school?
It did, and he didn't like I mean, he didn't really seem to appeal to go play football at Vanderbilt, but
I don't blame him. I understand completely.
I would tell him to, but he seemed pretty set on Ole Miss or Georgia at the time when he was committed there, and yeah, he didn't really want to go to Vanderbilt too much. But I mean, I understand his side of things, and he handled it all really well. And we would talk a little bit about offers and that type of thing, just because there wasn't too many other players in the school or athletes in the school that would have opportunities like that. So
there's not many athletes across the country that are going to have the opportunities that you and him both have. But I think it's fantastic for the school, fantastic for your coaches. I know it makes them prideful. So let's talk about the big question now. The draft is this week. We have you ranked in several places. Let's talk about your rankings right now. I've seen everywhere from 33rd to 75th, 80th. There's a lot of variables in there, I know, but do you have any indication right now of where you might fall?
From what I've heard, it could be anywhere from the pick 40 to pick 75. I mean, there's just no way to know because of the way the draft is this year. It's apparently one of the weaker drafts with there's a lot of top talent, but there's so much similarity in between everybody this year, and it's going to be really hard to know until it happens of which teams are going which way.
So let's give our viewers an inside look. All right, so you've worked out for 6 major league teams, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So they give you a call. Hey, we want you to come work out. Take us through that process, man. You fly up there. I'm from A to Z. Let's hear about the whole process of what you actually do once you step on their facilities.
Well, the ones I went to 5 in Atlanta, and those were just all at random high schools that they had, the high schools that allowed the pro teams to use their facilities. And it's not much at all, honestly. It is more of just you take some infield. I mean, you stretch first, obviously. You run a 60, they get your time. Then you do a couple maybe strength tests, maybe your broad jump, maybe your vertical, things like that. Then you maybe do a little forearm strength, something, just all the basic stuff. I mean, it wasn't too difficult. And then
I'm sure there's some specific science behind this of why they're doing this, Coach. I mean, what are they looking for?
Well, just what type of athlete he is, what kind of speed he has, obviously is critical, and fast twitch muscles, obviously, in any sport is critical. So, You know, they all do it a little bit differently, and speed and strength obviously are two of the main ingredients in a good athlete.
So once they go through that process, then the actual on-field stuff happens?
Yeah, so then we, after you do those tests, normally is what starts off the workouts. You'll, they'll do infield, outfield. You'll make your throws from your position to, if you're in outfield, you'll throw about 3 to third base, 3 to home. And that's basically it. There's a lot of people out there working out too, so they all have to do the same thing. It takes a little bit of time. And then we go into hitting, and everybody hits about 4 rounds of BP. I mean, that's really where, as a hitter, for me, that's when they're watching the most, because it doesn't matter how fast you are if you can't hit the ball in the infield, or how good of an arm you have if you can't hit the ball. Hitting's the most important tool, honestly.
Absolutely.
So,
Do you all think that maybe those deals, they obviously, when they invited you down there, they've been watching you, they have seen you live, take things. Are they more looking for something not to like about you in that than they are? They already kind of know what you are. You know, you were mentioning they're checking out how fast he can run, his fast twitch muscles, things like that. Are they looking for something that maybe they missed, or is it more to see him work out? They already have a pretty good feel for him, don't they? Or
no, the main point of the workouts is because normally when the scouts come to watch you during high school ball, it's just the area scout, or maybe you're one cross-checker, or maybe one national supervisor will get out and watch you play one time. And when you go to these workouts, they have the whole front office there. Every area scout, every national supervisor, every national cross-checker that they have.
So I know when you went into your games, you're not scared of anybody. You're probably not even nervous.
No,
Now, when you go down there and you've got the entire staff watching you, any butterflies, anything at all, or you just said, hey, I'm all about business?
No, I mean, it's just baseball. I mean, it's not going to help me if just thinking that way.
All right, so it moves me to another question. You worked out with 5 down in Atlanta. Your 6th workout, however, was in a special place, not only to me,
It's in Tampa.
but the Tampa workout.
Yeah, that was the 6th.
Excuse me, that was the 6th. But this past weekend, you worked out at Busch Stadium with the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, was that special to you when you walked on that field? Was that a little different field than the other previous workouts?
I mean, that was awesome. Our family's Cardinals fans. We've grown up being huge Cardinals fans, watched so many games, countless games I can remember at Busch Stadium, at the old stadium, a few at the new stadium. And just getting to go out there was a great feeling, just walking out, especially when you first walked out in the field, just getting to walk around, just look around at everything, and it was awesome.
so we see on TV, obviously the NFL draft gets more coverage, but so we kind of have a feel for that. Draft day for a baseball player, when obviously you're getting drafted. Okay, how do you spend today? What does it start at the afternoon, go into the night? How will that go? Where will you? Obviously you'll be here, but how are you going to spend that time?
I mean, beforehand, I'm just going to be like the same. Probably go work out a little bit or do something. Just don't really think about it too much. And then leading up to the draft, when it actually gets started, be with a lot of good friends, a lot of good people, and I mean, whatever happens. It's not really in my hands. So,
Well, it's a great aspect to have, and I'm not so sure the other 200 or however many people are in the draft feel the same way that you do. But there's not a whole lot, and Coach, tell me if I'm different. There's not a whole lot of young men his age that has this demeanor about him, this maturity about him.
Yeah, and that's, you watch him on the field, as I said before, obviously he's very talented, but the character-wise, he's right up there among the top.
Well, I can't say thank you enough from Tate. Now, this has been a fantastic special edition today with having you here. We look forward to seeing where this plays out for you in the draft in the upcoming years, and watching you go up through the ranks and possibly make a big league debut soon. And we look forward to that. Hopefully it's with St. Louis, but if not, we'll cheer you on either way. Coach Craig, thank you so much for coming. Look forward to seeing you next year and seeing how your team does. Bryce, thank you so much. This is Jeremy Qualls, Tate Mathews with WCS Sports Connection Game Day. We'll see you next time.